Hi everyone, I'm Connor Clark, Senior Reporter at Gay Times, and today we're here with Channel 4 to discuss the gay conversion therapy storyline currently airing on Hollyoaks.
Is this gay conversion therapy?
What it is salvation. The truth is, homosexuality is a violation of divine law.
No, it is not.
It's a sin. Well, just because somebody thinks they're gay, it doesn't mean that they actually are gay.
I'm joined by actress Annie Wallace, who plays Sally St. Clair in the series. Char Ellesse, content creator, model, and founder of Girls Will Be Boys, an online storytelling platform that blurs the lines between gender roles. Daniel Harding, an author and journalist who went through conversion therapy as part of an undercover report. Cheza Blonde, a content creator who uses her platform to speak openly about her experiences as a transgender woman in a Gen Z era. And lastly, Jack Remmington, a singer and presenter who makes pop culture content through an LGBTQ+ lens. Annie, as someone that made British soap opera history as the first openly trans person to play an openly trans character in a series regular role, bit of a lengthy title there, why do you feel that LGBTQ+ representation on a show like Hollyoaks is so important?
It's all about representation as a whole, and it's that famous line, isn't it? If you see it, you can be it. And even though in my case, I'm an older trans person, the younger people were able to go, goodness me, you know, I'm being told horrible things about being trans, and now here's someone who's reached middle age and had a successful career. That's representation. Simply existing often is enough.
And what do you all think this storyline could mean to survivors of conversion therapy watching at home? Because I think these kind of storylines are so rarely told, and they're so rarely told in a way that's authentic and meaningful to the experience. So maybe, Daniel, should we start with you?
I think it's really important. I think it's hard, like, having done it for a story that I did, and actually going through it, it was very similar actually to what the storyline portrays. Very much a drip effect, very much like you don't really aware it's sort of considered therapy. And I think, like, for people seeing this story and the representation, it's going to be hard if you've gone through it, I think, because it brings back a lot of those feelings, what you might have lived and gone through. But I also think it's important because it's showcasing people that actually this does happen without you knowing sometimes. While people might find it very hard to watch, it's also really important.
When you think about practices of conversion therapy, you don't think about the fact that people will be going through it and not know that they're going through it.
I think, you know, the ending, spoilers, but at the ending where Carter obviously confesses that he thought he was gay before, obviously he is. I found that quite ironic because I find a lot of homophobic people or a lot of people who are trying to change someone's opinion, or even like people who who are the ones trying to convert people, they're probably very insecure themselves and uncomfortable. And I like the way it was very full circle and him coming round and him actually being gay in the end when he was the one trying to convert John Paul. I thought that was very interesting.
Something I'd love to hear from you all about is, how have you felt watching these episodes? Have there been any moments that have really brought something out in you when you've been watching the conversion therapy scenes that are taking place?
What stood out to me, particularly with the Solidarity episode, was like, it felt so the opposite of tokenistic. So to have more than one queer couple in loads of different identity aspects, and then you talking about the importance of the trans flag and how much you identified with it in your role, I just think is so nice.
I think that's really nice as well because you see like all of those characters coming together. You've got all of this love around here, and then you've got this like scene where it's really intense. And I think actually that for me was really great to see like John Paul sort of stand up and show courage, because I think that's like, he showed courage, and he mentions like his family are religious and they accept him, and it's like showcasing that it's not about this. You can be gay and be loved. That moment where he sort of like stands up to Carter, I think is really nice.
You touched on there the juxtaposition that episode in particular showed from the darkness of the conversion therapy storyline, but also how characters were coming together so positively and authentically. What were your guys' thoughts on how that was approached by Hollyoaks?
Well, I think in the queer community, we almost make our own family. With trans girls, we all call each other sisters because it is a sisterhood and it is a family, and it's very beautiful, I think.
Sometimes, certainly in many decades gone by, that was it. And the queer community did have to create their own families because ultimately parents were very, very rejecting of it. And now it's so much more supportive than it used to be. But I still think it's an important thing to say that actually the togetherness, solidarity, which is the title of the episode, the solidarity of the LGBTQ plus characters that in the show at that moment is really indicative of the community as a whole.
I think I also really like what you touched on about John Paul saying that, particularly because there was a moment about religion and him saying, well, I've grown up in a religious family and there was no issue at all, which I think is really nice because quite often it's very easy to just one note kind of vilify of like, oh, religion's the cause of this issue.
It also showed how a deeply religious family could actually understand and actually go, no, you're still my son. And that in itself speaks volumes.
It's really nice, again, to just see him stand up and show people that you can be religious and you can be gay and you can be exactly whoever you need to be, sort of thing.
Well, being part of the LGBTQ plus community isn't just a black and white thing. I think anyone that is knows that. And I think we all have our own paths and our own intersectionalities that kind of feed into that. And Char, obviously, I know that you run your The Girls Will Be Boys platform, which obviously blurs like the line between gender roles and whatnot. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think in general, like in all of my work, it comes from the perspective of a queer black woman. So a lot of it is based on intersectionality. So I feel like intersectionality is really, really important when we talk about any kind of marginalisation, because oftentimes they do cross over and it means different things. And I think it's just important in general, the storylines, because a friend once said to me that representation is an antidote to shame. And I feel like that is what this storyline embodies, is that you don't have to be ashamed about this or that part of you, like, and being able to see it in someone else and reflect it and to know that other people are seeing it as well. So like, even if you're trying to hide it being who you are, other people have already seen examples of what intersectionality looks like.
I think something with conversion therapy is that obviously this has been going on for quite some time. This isn't a new thing, but Hollyoaks has chosen to approach it now. Why do you all feel that now is such a good time for Hollyoaks to do this story?
I think it's as important as ever, largely because even from my perspective, I would like to think I'm fairly clued up on most LGBTQ plus issues, of watching it and being like, oh, okay, this actually can take many different forms. It can be incredibly pervasive, like you say, particularly when you're preying on more vulnerable people. Now is as good a time as ever because even as someone who would like to think they knew what they were talking about, I learned a lot from it.
Absolutely. And something I wanted to ask you all as well is last year Channel 4 and Gay Times conducted a survey of the LGBTQ plus community, and it actually found that 93% want conversion therapy banned in its entirety. Does that statistic shock any of you?
I find that wild. What are the 7% doing to not want it banned? I think anyone who is comfortable within themselves or even is just okay with them being queer, it shouldn't be a thing at all. It's horrible.
7% is 1 in 14 people that answered that would have been like, no, I don't want it banning. Like, you would like to think that people aren't actively saying, I understand what's going on and I want for it to continue. I would hope that it's maybe a lack of education / misinformation where they go, I don't actually know what I was really agreeing to or not agreeing to there.
There's still people that think, well, look, if I'm not happy with being gay, I should have the right to go and seek counselling and seek a way out of it. And that comes from societal pressure, from religious pressure, from parental pressure. There are similar pressures that cause a lot of trans people to detransition. Detransitioning is often not done because they've changed their mind about being trans, it's about because the pressures that are put on people. And I think that what you're talking about, that little percentage there, it's a little window of people who are like, I would give anything not to be gay, and therefore I don't want that opportunity taken away from me. And that is ultimately misinformation, and these people need friends, peers. That's largely what it is. Peer support is everything in our community, it really is.
I think that that's really interesting what you say about that sort of 7%, which is shocking, I think. But maybe there are people who have the pressure, who have those family moments and think that this is the only way out.
The more that I have become engrossed in circles around LGBTQ plus people, the more confident I've become in myself and my own identity. And I know that I would have been far more susceptible to being taken advantage of in all these kinds of ways and being more vulnerable when I was younger, growing up in a small town where I was literally the only gay in the village. Like, there was no one else. And I think the older that I've got and the more that I've been welcomed with open arms into queer communities and queer spaces, the more comfortable I've felt. And the scary thing, I guess, is that this is more likely to happen to people who don't have those comfortable spaces, and specifically LGBTQ plus friends.
And something that I think is really great about what Hollyoaks has done is they've worked with campaigners and experts on this issue to tell the story as authentically as they can. Why do you think that's important? And is it significant, would you say?
The episode didn't feel like you said earlier, it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like, oh, we're going to try and include all like this. It felt very real and it felt very honest, and it didn't feel like we're pushing this kind of, you know, like in films or whatever, there's going to be a gay character just because there's a gay character and that's literally it. There's nothing deeper, but this felt very raw and, like you said earlier, going back to like literally going to the roots and really just experiencing what it is.
Daniel, like as someone with that lived experience, what's it like for you to view that with that sort of same mindset of maybe not understanding at first if that was your experience?
It's good to see this style sort of represented. This style of therapy is very much a drip effect. Like, they're going to lure you sort of in, give you this false sense of hope. Like, he goes home to you and really happy and stuff. And all of that is like how they're trying to make you think. The character, Carter, was really true to sort of the therapist that I had. And it's crazy. I'm excited to see where it goes.
They're really committed to the storyline. The scenes that were filmed in the gym, which is the big scenes in the Solidarity episode, they worked long and a very long, hard day working on that, and it really took it out of them. I mean, then, you know, they were exhausted by the end of it because just the sheer level of emotion. Because, you know, as an actor, it's not just saying the lines. It's actually pushing yourself to feel the feelings that this character has, and that is absolutely exhausting, especially when it goes down that dark path.
Well, something you mentioned there, which I think is really interesting, is where there's dark, there has to be light, and that's what this storyline is really getting across. And so I thought something we could end on that is a really nice note is, what are you all hopeful that this storyline will achieve in terms of among the viewers and also the actors on set?
In the times we're living in right now, it's scary to be an LGBTQ plus person anyway, and especially what's going on at the moment. So I think it's really good, and I think it's important, and hopefully some good comes out of it. Maybe a ban on conversion therapy at some point.
I hope that it provides someone with the tools to help someone who's going through it. I'm hoping that, someone feels equipped to go and help someone that they love now. Yeah.
I just hope that the public awareness is known by straight and cisgender people.
So I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of Gay Times and Channel 4 for all being involved in this discussion today about the conversion therapy storyline on Hollyoaks. And thank you to anyone that's been watching from home. And please don't forget that you can stream Hollyoaks now on Channel 4.